9 spine-chilling true horror stories exposed, unexplained terrors from the haunted abyss. Sarah's heart raced as she pulled into her driveway, her headlights cutting through the thickening darkness. Another late shift at the hospital was behind her, but the shadows of her suburban neighborhood felt heavier. The whispers of fear had seeped into every crevice of her quiet life. Children had been disappearing, and there were murmurs about something sinister lurking in their peaceful streets. Each night, as she tucked her son Max into bed, she could feel the weight of a growing dread blanket the air around them. As she stepped out of the car, she noticed a shadow lingering near the Wilkins house, their once friendly neighbor now a source of unease. She squinted, but all she saw was flickering porch light. The oddness gnawed at her. Had there really been someone there? Shaking it off as just exhaustion, she hurried inside. Max was already asleep, his light snores soft and innocent against the backdrop of the unsettling world outside. But as she lay her head on the pillow, a scratching noise cut through the silence, followed by low whispers that echoed eerily in the walls. Goosebumps prickled her skin. Days slipped by in a blur of work and worry, her routine punctuated by unsettling occurrences. Max, normally a bright and boisterous child, began talking to an invisible friend, his small voice wandering through the house late at night, chilling Sarah to the bone. "Mommy, he's here. He's watching us," Max exclaimed one night. Fear pooled in Sarah's stomach. Who was watching them? The whispers had morphed into urgent alarms in her head, warning her that the disappearances weren't just urban legends. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That same week, whispers about a dark past emerged, tales of a haunted elementary school at the edge of their neighborhood. Sarah's stomach twisted as she recalled the playground as a child, a vibrant place filled with laughter, now a decaying husk of what it once was. The other neighborhood kids spoke in hushed tones about the figure that snatched souls with a mere glance. What if one of those souls belonged to her best friend from high school, missing for years, believed to have knowledge that could end the horror? Determined to uncover the truth and protect her son, Sarah ventured out one night, her heart pounding in her chest as she traced Max's frightened gaze toward the looming trees outside. The wind rustled, branches swaying like ghastly fingers beckoning her closer. She approached the school, acutely aware of the darkness swallowing her whole, the air thick with tension. A sudden voice riding the wind froze her in place, a low, mocking tone that sent chills racing down her spine. "Have you come to play?" it whispered. Dread curled around her heart. Had she been followed? The shadows were alive, pulsating, she could feel eyes boring into her from every corner. As she turned to flee, a soft giggle echoed from behind the schoolyard, snapping her breaths into shallow gasps. The air felt charged, electric, as a sudden thought pierced through the panic. The horrors she dismissed as mere whispers could be lurking closer than she ever imagined, perhaps even in the hearts of those she once trusted. Would she be able to unearth the truth before it consumed them both, or was she teetering on the edge of a nightmare from which there would be no escape? The moon hung low and full, casting an eerie glow over the playground. Shadows stretched long and distorted across the grass, and the chill of the night air crawled against Sarah's skin. She stumbled backward, heart racing in her chest. The giggle rang out again, clearer this time. It wasn't just a figment of her imagination, but a child's laugh, bright and haunting. "Max?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. Panic clenched around her throat as she scanned the area. There was no sign of her son. Had he followed her? The darkness felt stifling, as if it were wrapping around her. Clenching her fists, she forced herself forward, venturing around the corner of the dilapidated building. Every footstep creaked against the old wood, awakening memories of laughter and joy that felt centuries old. But now, all she found was an overwhelming sense of dread. Max. She called louder, desperation creeping into her voice. She stopped abruptly, stunned to see a figure standing by the swings. It was small, far too small to be an adult. She felt a surge of relief and terror wash over her at once. It had to be him. But as she approached, something twisted in her gut. The silhouette turned slightly, revealing a face that was unmistakably not her son's. The child had hollowed cheeks and eyes lacking any warmth. They looked soulless, reflecting the pale moonlight like two dark pits. No. She gasped, stepping back as icy waves of fear crashed over her. Then, from behind the child, a darker shape emerged from the shadows. It was tall and warped, like something out of a nightmare. Its elongated limbs hung at unnatural angles as it crept closer, heartbeats echoing in Sarah's ears. "Come play with us," the child said again, voice eerily cheerful, a mockery of innocence. The grotesque figure loomed behind, a silent watcher. It felt as if the air had sucked out of her lungs. Sarah turned on her heel, adrenaline fueling her escape. She ran, feet pounding on the gravel, desperate to escape the sound of laughter that echoed behind her, dissonant and chilling, bursting through the opening in the schoolyard. She glanced back only to find the playground empty. No twisted figure, no giggling child, just the haunting silence that made her bones ache. Max's voice broke through her torment. "Mommy. I was looking for you." He stood at the edge of the yard, appearing from the shadows as if he had been summoned by her fear. Relief flooded her, but her instincts screamed danger. "Get inside!" she shouted, scooping him up into her arms. The urgency propelled her inside the building, slamming the door behind them. They were now trapped in the stale air of forgotten memories. "What were you doing out there?" she demanded, fear giving her a sharp edge. "I was looking for my friend," he said, wide-eyed and innocent, pointing to the darkness. A cold surge coursed through Sarah. "What friend, Max?" "The boy," Max said, his voice barely above a whisper. "He has a funny face. He says he wants to play forever." Panic churned in Sarah's stomach. The darkness behind the school pressed closer, whispering promises of eternal play. She had only wanted to protect him, yet here they were, teetering on the brink of something she couldn't fully understand. "What boy?" she forced out, trembling against the weight of impending dread. "He said he can take me away." Max's voice trailed off, a look of fascination flickering behind his fear. Pounding echoed from outside the door, sending them both jumping. "Mommy," Max whimpered, clutching tightly to her leg, "He's here." The air thickened, and the whispers returned, swirling in a malicious rhythm. They promised her everything, delight wrapped in a dangerous veneer. Because what they didn't know, what they didn't realize, was that some games come with a price far too steep. Would she fight the looming dread and protect her son, or would their fate be drawn into the darkness that watched from the playground? The door trembled in its frame, the echo of footsteps growing louder, closer, each resounding thud a taunt to Sarah's whipped nerves. She clutched Max tightly, her heart racing as dread wrapped its icy fingers around her throat. Those whispers, that giggling, they seeped through the cracks of the old building, corrupting the stale air with their sweet poison. "Mommy," Max's voice trembled. "I want to go home." "We're going home, buddy," she hissed, though she wasn't sure they'd ever escape this nightmare. She glanced around the dim room, seeking anything that could offer her a shred of safety. Just shadows clung to the walls, no solid comfort to grasp. The pounding grew more frantic, as if whatever lurked outside could sense their fear. "Please, let us in." A voice chirped sweetly, an uncomfortable mimicry that twisted her stomach. "We just want to play." "No. You're not coming in," Sarah shouted, the words bursting from her as if they could create a barrier. She dragged Max farther into the crumbling hallway, her mind racing for a plan, any plan, that could save them. The laughter was relentless now, spiraling through the air and settling deep into her bones. She felt it gnawing at her, tugging at her sanity like a child pulling on a parent's sleeve. She peered through a grimy window, heart pounding faster at the sight beyond. Shadows writhed in the moonlight, a mass of intertwining figures that danced and swayed as if caught in an ecstatic rhythm, celebrating the terror they inflicted. "Mommy!" Max cried out, voice lacing with fear. He pointed behind her, and for a moment, Sarah hesitated, tempted to look back. But her instincts screamed at her to keep moving. They stumbled deeper into the school, the air growing heavier with every step. Each creaking floorboard beneath her feet seemed to echo other footsteps that weren't her own. The boy Max whispered again, this time laced with an eerie calmness that sent a shiver through her spine. "He wants to show me where the fun is." "Max, no. There's no fun," she pleaded, panic crisping her words. "That boy isn't your friend. He's playing with you." But Max's wide eyes sparkled in a way that spoke of something other than fear. Something darker, more insidious. "Come play with us." The voice sang once more, soft and inviting, though it felt like poison dripping into her ears. It wrapped around Sarah like a malign embrace that squeezed, threatening to crush her resolve. They turned a corner, finding themselves in the gymnasium, its vast emptiness now shrouded in choking darkness. Flickering light cast eerie shadows that danced along the walls, twisting and morphing. The gym had always felt like a haven when Max played here, but now it was a foreboding labyrinth where nightmares could roam free. "Let us play hide and seek." The chilling voice echoed, slicing through the silence. The gymnasium was alive now, the shadows moving like living things. "No. We have to get out," Sarah shouted. She felt Max slip from her grip for a moment, glancing back as if something irresistible was calling him. But as she reached for him, a flash of something caught her eye across the room, a flicker of movement. And there stood the child again, his face distorted in a grotesque smile, the night-blackened figure prowling at his side, waiting with predatory patience. "Forever," the child sang in a sing-song voice. "You can play forever." Adrenaline surged through Sarah. She had to act. "Max, I need you to listen." But the weight of his innocent gaze told her it was already too late, like a moth drawn to a flame. The shadows shifted, closing in, their presence palpable, suffocating. "Mommy," his tiny hand slid away, reaching for the dark promise of eternal play. "No," she yelled, lunging for him as darkness spilled closer, whispering temptations that twisted her heart. Would she let her son slip into the abyss, or face the horror head-on? The playground's laughter erupted around her, as if celebrating the hunt. The door slammed shut behind them, sealing their fate. And then came the silence. The laughter faded, replaced by dread-filled anticipation. But what waited in the silence? Was it really over, or merely a harbinger of something far worse to come? The silence hung like a guillotine, poised to fall. Sarah's breath quickened, each inhale a desperate gasp, as the lingering laughter faded into the depths, replaced by an unsettling stillness. She scanned the gym, the shadows that once seemed playful now appeared to loom hungrily, patience etched into their dark forms. "Max," she called, her voice a mere whisper against the thickness of the atmosphere. "Where are you?" Heart pounding, she stepped deeper into the gymnasium, her sneakers squeaking against the polished floor, echoing unnervingly in the vast space. The air felt electric, charged with malice, each crackle sending chills through her spine. "Mommy, over here." Max's voice, soft yet haunting, floated from the far corner, a siren song luring her in. She turned, eyes widening as she saw him standing too close to the wall of shadows. "Don't move," she shouted, panic slicing through her. "Stay where you are." But the boy was transfixed, his tiny frame barely visible as he swayed gently to the rhythm of the darkness. Something sickening twisted in Sarah's gut as she realized he wasn't just standing there, he was dancing, under the spell of intangible forces that reached out, beckoning him closer. "Mommy, come play," Max urged, his face illuminated by the ghostly flicker of lights overhead. It was a different face, smooth, innocent, yet touched by something sinister. "Max." She took a step, then stopped, dread blooming in her chest. "No. You're not himself. Don't listen to them. The shadows seemed to swirl around her son, whispering promises of joy and adventure. The grotesque figure shuffled in the dark corner, half hidden but always watching. Its eyes glinted like dark coals, hungry and cold. Let us play hide and seek. The whisper was louder now, enveloping her like a dark fog. Max. She lunged forward, her feet propelling her through the thick atmosphere, desperation burning in her veins. She felt it then, the shifting of shadows, the invisible fingers reaching out, attempting to tear her away from the struggle. Forever. Echoed in the depths around her, the voice a twisted anthem of eager surrender. No. She screamed, pressing forward, every step a battle against the weight of the encroaching darkness. She grabbed Max's arm just as he began to turn away, dragging him back with all her strength. But the shadows surged, a tempest of shadows that clawed at her, pulling at her clothes and her mind, whispering secrets that pricked her sanity. Let go, Sarah. Let the game begin. Max, listen to me. She gripped his shoulders, forcing him to meet her gaze. You need to wake up from this. Time felt suspended, like the moment before a winter storm, a stillness thick with impending dread. Then, beneath the suffocating darkness, a flicker of hope ignited. Max blinked, confusion seeping into his innocent eyes as he pulled against the allure of the shadows. Mommy, he hesitated, fighting the unseen force that had nearly claimed him. Sarah felt the darkness thrum around them, angry that she dared to resist. The laughter returned, echoing through the gym, now mocking. You can't take him away. He belongs to us. With a primal scream, she yanked Max toward the gym exit, determination flooding her. No. You can't have him. A sudden blast of cold wind rushed through, obliterating her senses, and in that fleeting moment, the walls seemed to dissolve. The figures lost their solidity, howling with rage as they distorted under the pressure of their freedom slipping through their grasp. Max screamed, confusion giving way to sheer terror as Sarah sprinted toward the door, their only escape. The shadows clawed at their ankles, gnashing with frustration as they tried to hold on to their prize. Just as they lunged for the exit, a terrible, deep rumble echoed around them, a warning growl that sent frost creeping into Sarah's heart. Game over. The voice of the darkness chimed in from everywhere, resonating with a finality that shook her very soul. Would she cross the threshold into the unknown, or would the shadows strip her son from her grasp, dragging him into an abyss that promised endless games of horror? As they reached the door, a sudden silence fell, heavy and expectant. The night outside beckoned them, but at what cost? Just as she touched the handle, the darkness erupted, spilling forth in a swirling tempest that threatened to consume them whole. Would escape lead to freedom, or seal their doom? The door swung open, slamming against the wall with a deafening crash. Sarah stumbled into the night, Max yanked tight against her side. The gym's shadows whispered behind them, hungry for their retreat, as if their escape insulted their savage appetite. Run! She gasped, pulling Max ahead, each step echoing against the cold pavement. Fear surged through her veins like ice water. The laughter disembodied, cruel followed, wrapping around her. You'll be back, it taunted. She dared not look back, but the sound surrounded them, vibrating in the marrow of her bones. Max's small hand trembled in hers, his eyes wide, reflecting the starlit sky. Mommy, what's happening? Just hold on, baby. Just hold on tight. The words tasted bitter, knowing the truth, she couldn't explain the unexplainable. They darted down the vacant street, the darkness pooling around them like ink, thick and alive. Every whisper of wind carried the stench of fear, wrapping around her throat like a noose. They reached her car, the old sedan parked crookedly on the edge of the lot. Get in! She shouted frantically, pushing him toward the door. He scrambled inside as she fumbled with her keys, hands shaking. She felt a tightness in her chest, a heaviness that clenched her heart. Suddenly, a blast of cold air sucked the warmth from her body as she slid into the driver's seat. She slammed the door, the sound echoing in the still night. As she turned the key, the engine sputtered, then roared reluctantly to life. The laughter grew louder, vibrating through the metal. "Go, go, go!" Max screamed, panic sparking in his voice. Her foot hit the gas, tires screeching as they peeled away. The rearview mirror revealed a shadowy figure, an elongated silhouette standing by the gym, watching with malice. Max shrieked. She strained her ears beneath the engine's growl, desperate to drown out the haunting calls. "Come play with us forever, shut up!" she yelled, swerving to avoid the potholes that marred the road. The night felt alive, the trees leaning closer, as if trying to pull them into their depths. They were not alone, the shadows had spilled out into the world beyond the gym. As she drove faster, the darkness enveloped them, a thick mist pressing against the windows. Lights flickered on the horizon, their town, a familiar beacon. It was supposed to feel safe. "We're almost home," she urged Max, but doubt gnawed at her heart. Suddenly, the headlights caught something on the side of the road. An old woman, a tattered dress flapping with the wind, stood in their path. Her face was distorted, eyes sunken and hollow. Intrigued, drawn by some unseen force, Max gasped, "Mommy, look!" "No! Don't look at her!" Sarah shouted, her heart racing. She swerved hard to the right, tires screeching again as they barely missed the ghostly figure. The woman's laughter pierced through the air, echoing against the car like a strike of thunder. "You can't run from the ones you've invited in." "Shut up!" Sarah cried, but the shadows thrummed around the car, vibrating with that chilling promise. They hadn't escaped. Not yet. The town was drawing closer, yet every familiar landmark felt foreign now, twisted by the horrors they'd just fled. All those playful nights on playgrounds, laughter in the air, they felt like a trap. She pulled up to their home, the old clapboard house standing silently under the night sky. Was it really safe? Or was this an illusion? As they sat in the car, Max's eyes were glassy, fixed at the space beyond Sarah. "Mommy, I don't feel so good," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. A shiver crept down Sarah's spine. "What do you mean?" He looked up at her then, his expression shifting, suddenly distant, strange. "Can we go back to the gym? I had fun." Time froze. The air felt thick as panic surged. The shadows in her mind threatened to envelop the last flicker of hope. "Max, Mommy, can we play hide and seek?" The weight of despair crashed over her like a tidal wave. What had she let slip through her fingers? Just as she opened her mouth to respond, the night around them seemed to hold its breath. The laughter returned, now inside the car, enveloping them in a soft, sinister embrace. Would her son truly return to that darkness, or was there still a way to break free? The laughter echoed, filling the car like a miasma, twisting Sarah's stomach into knots. Max stared, eyes wide and unblinking, as though he were caught in a dream made of the same material as the shadows now swirling outside. "Max," her voice came out shaky, barely a whisper. "Please, we need to stay together. Remember what I told you?" His small face scrunched up as if he couldn't comprehend her words. "But I want to play." His voice dropped to a soft, haunting tone, as if he were no longer her son but something else entirely. "They said it's more fun with them." She swallowed hard, desperation clawing at her throat. "No. No, we don't want to play. We want to go home." As she spoke, the laughter inside the car intensified, probing, relentless. The old house loomed in front of them, its dark windows like empty eyes staring back, daring her to enter. The shadows danced in the corners of her vision, flickering like flames, igniting memories of laughter and joy that now felt sinister, tainted. "Mommy?" Max's voice cut through the chaos. "I can feel them. They're calling me." He leaned closer to the window, pressing his small palm against the glass, his breath fogging up the surface, the laughter becoming one with his breath. Something shifted in Sarah. Horror swelled within her as she reached for him. "Max, no. Don't touch the window." But it was too late, he was already being drawn in, the shadows whispering his name sweetly, seductively. Mommy, it feels good, he murmured, as a light flickered on inside his eyes, a dark invitation pulling him toward the malevolence outside. No! Sarah screamed, her heart racing. She slammed the horn, a long, desperate blast that shattered the air, but the laughter continued, rising higher, mocking her frantic plea. Please! She screamed. We can't go back. Don't listen to them. Tears streamed down her face, burning her cheeks as the air inside the car thickened, suffocating her spirit. Suddenly, Max's expression softened as if a veil lifted, and he turned to her. I want to go home, Mommy. His sweet voice was heavy with weariness, innocence returning, but the shimmer in his eyes was a taunting reminder of what they had narrowly escaped. Then let us go inside, sweetheart. We'll be safe in there, she said, her voice steadier now, laced with a determination she hardly felt. With trembling hands, she turned off the engine, her breath catching in her throat as silence strangled the lingering laughter. Together, they unbuckled their seatbelts and stepped out into the night. The air was cold, sharp against her skin. Shadows clung to the trees, searching, waiting. Stay close, she whispered as they approached the door, each step echoing ominously against the wood. Just as she reached for the doorknob, a frigid gust swept through, carrying the laughter back, louder than before, a cacophony that clawed at her ears. Come play with us, it cried, an unholy chorus rising from nowhere. She froze. What if the invitation had never been rescinded? What if inviting Max to play was merely the beginning? Her breath quickened, the world around her dimming, barely able to hold on to hope. Mommy? Max's voice snapped her back to the moment, his innocent confusion tugging at her heart. She turned to him, panicking. We mustn't listen. Not again. But even as she spoke, something shifted behind them, a flicker of movement, a form stepping out of the shadows, closer, closer. Max gasped, his small hand slipping from her grasp, reaching toward whatever had emerged. Mommy, who is that? Heart stuttering in horror, Sarah whipped around, ready to shield him, but then she froze again. There, caught in the ethereal glow of the streetlight, stood a child. A little girl with a haunting smile, a dark aura swirling around her like a cloak. You came back. And with those simple words, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. She felt the ground slip beneath her, the irreversible pull of the darkness inching closer, threatening to swallow them whole. Max, run. But what if he didn't want to? What would she do now? The laughter returned, and Sarah could only stare. Rooted in place, as the figure drew nearer, extending a hand. Could Max still be saved, or was he already lost to them forever? Max's eyes widened, captivated by the girl who stood before them. Mommy, she's pretty. His innocent admiration sliced through Sarah like a cold blade. The laughter enveloped them, a relentless wave crashing over her willpower. Max, she's not. Sarah's warning died in her throat as the girl giggled, a sound that echoed like glass shattering in the night. Come play. The girl chimed, her voice sweet yet eerie, like a song sung underwater. It's so much fun. You'll see. Sarah felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Something about the way the girl moved, her head tilting and cocking to one side, sent shudders through her bones. Max, we don't want to play with her. I do. Max protested, rocking slightly on his feet, entranced. The shadows seemed to swirl at his feet, whispering promises only he could hear. Max. Please. Panic rose in her chest, curling around her heart. But the girl smiled wider, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp for a child. You don't want to miss our game. Everyone plays. She gestured to the darkness behind her. Out of the shadows, more figures began to emerge, ghostly children, their faces grinning in a way that made bile rise in Sarah's throat. Stay back. She shouted, stepping in front of Max, her hands trembling. The shadows danced, alive with a menacing hunger. The little girl merely stepped forward. Don't be scared. We're just here to play. The laughter crescendoed, drowning out the sound of Sarah's heartbeat. The urge to flee struck her, yet she felt rooted as if the pavement had become adhesive, trapping her there. "Mommy, I want to play with them." Max tugged at her arm, his small face lit with excitement. "No, Max." She could hardly keep her voice steady. "We can't play. We need to go home." Desperation seeped into every syllable. Her heart raced as she spotted something glimmering in the shadow's eyes. Teeth. She couldn't linger on the details, it would fracture her remaining resolve. "Max, listen to me." She took him by the shoulders and turned him so he was facing her. "We have to find a way out. They want to trick you." The little girl frowned and stomped her foot. "You can't take him. It's against the rules." "What rules?" Sarah yelled, her mind racing. "Can't leave the game until it's finished." The other figures chimed in agreement, their voices turning into a cataclysm of sweet nothings and cruel laughter. "Run!" Sarah cried, but as adrenaline flooded her limbs, every step felt like moving through molten tar. She could feel the weight of their gazes, perceived expectations pressing down on her. Max turned, clenching her hand, confusion etched across his little face. "Let us go back." "No!" She screamed, fighting against the tug-of-war happening within her own chest. She had to fight for her son. As if sensing her resolve faltering, the shadows shifted, closing in from all sides. The girl giggled again, taking a step towards them, her smile wide and knowing. "You can't escape, Mommy. You'll have so much fun just like us." The shadows thickened, wrapping around her shins, their grip tightening. "Max, please listen." Tears threatened to spill from her eyes, the darkness consuming the streetlight's feeble glow. With a wrenching sensation, Sarah grasped her son tightly, trembling as the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "Come play, forever." But as the shadows draped over them like a shroud, a piercing vision flooded Sarah's mind, the faces of children lost to the fog, taken for the sake of a game that never ended. "Run, Max, run!" She shouted, the heat of terror igniting every nerve in her body. She began to pull him back, but it felt like fighting against the tide. Just as they turned, she felt the icy fingers of the darkness graze her back. Had they crossed the threshold? Was there no returning? As the laughter crescendoed to a frenzied pitch, it transformed into agonized screams, a sinister symphony reverberating in her ears. And then, an unexpected silence fell, a heavy, breathless quiet that smothered the night. What happened? She gasped, scanning the area, searching for any sign of the child or the shadows. But everything was still. Then she turned to Max, her heart pounding, utterly terrified of what she might find. "Max! Where are you?" Her voice trembled, but the boy had vanished. Just as she felt the panic rise, biting at her throat, a light flickered ahead. "Mommy!" Was it a voice? No. It was a call from the other side of the street, where the shadows still moved, where the game waited, hidden beneath the veil of night. What had she done? Where had he gone? The darkness whispered again, coaxing her forward, teasing her with its sinister promise. "Mommy! Come play with us." But would this game, in darkness, be the end? Or could she still break the cycle? With every step toward the flickering light, dread wrapped itself around Sarah's throat like a vice. "Max!" She called again, her voice cracking under the weight of despair. It felt like walking into a trap, each inch pulling her deeper into the sinister embrace of the shadows that felt alive, breathing, watching. As she stepped closer, the light pulsed, flickered, and then dimmed, a cruel heartbeat in the pitch blackness. The air thickened, each breath felt stale, tasting of dread and decay. Max's giggle echoed again, distant yet clear, sending shivers racing down her spine. "Mommy! Over here!" She hesitated. What if it was a trick? What if the shadows lay in wait, plotting her next move? But then she heard it, the unmistakable sound of her son's laughter, pure and innocent, completely at odds with the hell swirling around them. "Max!" she shouted, and with renewed determination, she surged toward the light, forcing her legs to move faster. The shadows writhed at her feet, seemingly alive and desperate to keep her rooted. With each step, the laughter grew, turning from playful to teasing, a chilling reminder of the game they were playing. Suddenly, the girl's image flared in her memory. The sharp teeth, the way she moved, so fluid yet so unnatural. Sarah felt bile rise in her throat, the understanding hitting her like a blow. This was not just a game, it was a trap woven from despair and tainted joy. Finally, she broke through the curtain of darkness, finding herself in a small, uneven patch of light. It illuminated an old swing set, rusting against the backdrop of an empty park. There were no trees, no shadows behind them, just an expanse of the dreaded void dotted with those eerie giggles. "Mommy, come play." The voices came from everywhere, a chorus of high-pitched cries echoing around her. She turned in a circle, scanning the empty space, feeling every hair on her body stand at attention. "Max! Where are you?" "Here," came the soft reply. A figure stood just beyond the swings, silhouette framed against the dying light. Sarah's heart raced. Could it really be him? But as she approached, a chill curled through her veins, recognizing the outline wasn't quite right. The head was too large, the limbs too thin, and the smile unnaturally wide. It was one of them, a shadow child enveloped in a dark aura. "Come play with us forever," it sang, voice grating like broken glass scraping across her soul. "No!" Sarah shouted, backing away, panic surging like a tidal wave. The figures emerged once more, some laughing, some peeking from behind the swing set, all with eyes that gleamed with an unholy light. Then, a scream erupted from just beyond the murmur of their laughter. "Mommy!" The sound twisted through Sarah, a raw plea that sent her racing forward. "Max!" she screamed, charging toward the sound. She fought against the shadows, pushing away the figments of fear clawing at her thoughts. With every step, the laughter dimmed, replaced by a thunderous heartbeat drumming in her ears. Another shadow child reached for her, fingers extending unnaturally long. "Stay with us, Mommy!" it hissed, its face contorting in grotesque joy. "Get away from me!" She slammed her foot down, feeling the ground beneath her vibrating with tension. But then she felt it, a tug at her heart, a pull toward the darkness, offering her a chance to join. "Just play, forever," it called. "Max!" she shouted again, desperation rising in her throat. Just as she saw him, fleeting, running across the edge of the park, laughter bubbling in his throat, pure, untainted. "Mommy!" he cried out. "Max, don't listen to them." Sarah lunged forward, but as she did, the darkness roared, swirling and coiling, ready to swallow her whole. Faced with the shadows and their sweet laughter, echoed by her son's terrified call, Sarah knew she had to make a choice. Would she protect her son or join the game, forever entwined in the darkness? "Mommy, come play." But as Sarah battled the urge to surrender, a cold realization settled. What had she unleashed? Everything around her began to tremble, the walls of reality echoing her internal conflict, as the shadows prepared for the final act of their cruel game. "Max!" she fumbled in the darkness, scrambling for her son through the chaos. What if she couldn't find him? "Max, where are you?" But the response that came was not a sound, but silence, a heavy, palpable stillness that seemed to swallow every ounce of joy and hope she had left. As dread filled the air, another whisper crept into the silence, smooth and low, "You can't escape, the game has only just begun." Who would win when the game was life and death? Sarah's heart raced, thundering in her chest like a drum calling to battle. The silence was louder than any scream. Shadows swirled around her, whispering secrets she could never understand. Her skin prickled as she felt eyes upon her, unseen entities judging her resolve. "Mommy!" That voice, a sweet, innocent pitch, pulled her from the edge of despair. But now it was different, tainted by surrounding darkness. Each call felt like a dagger, piercing through her determination. "Max!" she cried, compelled by instinct alone. The voice echoed again, drawing her into the suffocating embrace of the treeless park. As she moved deeper, the hollow laughter transformed from playful to menacing, filling the air with a tension so thick it felt tangible. She could almost touch the despair. Then she spotted him, a flicker of movement flaring in her vision, just beyond the swings. He was there, darting away from her, the outline growing fainter. The laughter became a twisted melody, dancing around her, mocking her every step. "Come play with us." The shadows sang, urging her to join them, a siren-esque call infused with malice. "No!" she roared back, lunging forward, letting desperation fuel her strides. "Max!" But he didn't respond. Instead, the world warped around her, the swings creaked loudly, making her jump as if they were alive. A low growl rose from within the darkness, echoing sinister intentions. A chill swept through her soul. She stumbled, terrified, as the laughter morphed into growls, the shadows inching closer, surrounding her in a suffocating dark mass. Sarah squinted into the gloom, heart racing, tears threatening to spill. "This isn't real!" she shouted, trying to drown out the chaos, and then, an image flickered before her. The girl, the ghastly little creature with the sharp teeth, materialized within the shadows, her grin wide, her eyes glinting like tiny stars in a black void. "Playtime!" she crooned, sweet as syrup, dripping with darkness. "Get away!" Sarah screamed, but her voice was swallowed whole. She fumbled backward, searching for her footing in the abyss that seemed to shift beneath her. "Max!" she pleaded, but the call choked in her throat, crushed by fear's weight. The girl extended her fingers, beckoning, and Sarah felt the pull of it, the alluring darkness that promised safety. "Just join, just play," it whispered, a soft lullaby coaxing her to let go. "No!" she roared defiantly. But at that moment, a familiar giggle broke through the malevolence, weaving through the crumbling fabric of her sanity. It forced her to move. "Mommy!" Max shouted again, bursting like a beacon of light, even as the shadows clawed at her ankles, trying to drag her down. "Hold on, Max!" she urged, urging herself forward despite her trembling legs threatening to buckle. Each step felt like wading through thick mud, the darkness pulling her back. Suddenly, she spotted him standing still amongst the shadows, eyes wide with fear. Almost instinctively, she rushed toward him. But as she reached out, a figure darted in front of her, blocking her path. "No, Mommy, you can't take him." It was another shadow child, laughter bubbling through cracked, sharp blue lips. Hour's fury ignited within Sarah's chest, bubbling up like molten lava, fueling her charge. She fought against the creature, her hand brushing against its icy skin. But the pull was fierce, she felt it yanking on her heart, telling her to give in, to join them. A single drop of sweat trickled down her brow, the silence vibrating with a heartbeat that wasn't her own. "Leave us alone!" she screamed, watching helplessly as the shadow child grinned wider, the shadows around it swirling in a dark dance that felt ominous, inviting. Then, in a moment of terrible clarity, Sarah realized, the game wasn't just about escaping. It was about choices, about what she was willing to sacrifice for her son, and what the shadows demanded. With every ounce of strength left, she lunged toward Max, feeling the final flicker of hope amid the encroaching darkness. Just as she reached out for him, the shadows erupted. All around them, ready to claim their prize, the light flickered, a heartbeat ending, and then, darkness. "Mommy, help!" Max cried, fading as the laughter exploded into chaos. With the abyss closing in, Sarah knew the struggle had only just begun. What would she pay to save him? Would they become nothing more than two more shadows, lost in a game of eternal despair? The darkness swept around Sarah like a suffocating fog, and she fought against it with every ounce of determination left in her being. "No!" she screamed, lunging toward Max, her heart pounding in her chest like a war drum. The chaos unfolded around her, shadows swirling wildly, their sinister giggles piercing through her resolve. But deep down, she felt the flicker of hope, a desperate spark that refused to be extinguished. "Max!" she cried again, adrenaline pushing her forward. The shadows grasped at her ankles like frozen hands, desperate to pull her down, but she couldn't let them win. The little girl, with her twisted smile, stood between them, a specter of malevolence that sent icy tendrils of fear coursing through Sarah. "Join us!" the girl taunted, her voice dripping with venom as laughter echoed. "Play with us forever." "No!" Sarah roared, her voice defying the encroaching shadows. "You won't take my son." She shot forward, feeling a surge of maternal strength deep within her. Max's frightened cries echoed in her ears, guiding her through the swirling darkness. "Mommy! Help!" Desperation clawed at Sarah's heart, and she pushed past the shadow children, their laughter ringing in her ears like a death knell. She felt the shadows claw at her back, pulling her away, but she wouldn't give in. The dark laughers may have lured countless souls into their cruel game, but she refused to let them have another. As she reached Max, she plunged through the thick barrier of darkness, grabbing onto his small hand with an iron grip. "I'm here. I'm not leaving you." Their eyes locked, confusion now clear on his innocent face. "Mommy! What is happening? Where are we?" "Just hold on to me, Max. We're getting out," she shouted, dragging him away from the insatiable laughter that bordered on frenzy. The shadows whooshed closer, threatening to swallow them whole. But at that moment, Sarah's memory flared. She recalled the strength of love, how it pierced through fear like a sword illuminating the night. "Max, listen to me," she shouted, focusing all her energy into her words. "You are stronger than them. You are my light, and we will break free." She felt an echo inside her, a response pulsing through the darkness. The malevolent laughter dimmed, the shadows faltering, and in that space, she felt an unexpected shift as the shadows recoiled, as if wrapped in a force they could not fathom. Gritting her teeth, Sarah summoned her willpower into one final cry. "We choose to leave this game behind. We choose love and light." In a moment that felt like an eternity, an unseen force exploded outward, radiating warmth that blasted through the cold, menacing air. The shadows howled, retreating to the corners of the void, their grip loosening on Sarah and Max. The oppressive weight lifted, and for the first time since they had stepped into that nightmare, she felt the cool caress of a breeze on her skin, the kind that smelled of freedom. "Run, Max!" she urged, pulling him along. Together they surged towards the flickering light that pulsed like a heartbeat just beyond the darkness. They sprinted, every stride fueled by the adrenaline of survival. As they bulldozed through the shadows, the laughter faded, drifting away like smoke. No more deceitful promises, no more mockery. Just their feet pounding against the concrete, breathless rush towards safety, and then blinding light enveloped them as they burst through the last veil of shadow. They emerged into the cool night air, finding themselves on the quiet street just outside their home, the familiar landscape stretching out before them like a welcoming embrace. "Mommy!" Max exclaimed, his expression lighting up with realization. The malignant grip of shadows snapped completely as he tumbled into her arms, laughter spilling from his mouth, the giggle of a child freed. "We made it, baby!" Sarah breathed, relief washing over her like a wave. But the weight of everything still clung to her, a bitter reminder of how close they had come to losing each other. "Can we go inside?" he asked, looking up at her with wide eyes that sparkled with innocence. "Yes, of course. We'll always be together," she replied, tightening her embrace, feeling his warmth seep into her bones. "Forever." Their house loomed in the comforting shadows, still and quiet. They walked to the door, and Sarah's hand brushed against the cool brass doorknob. As the door creaked open, a sigh of relief escaped her lips, each moment now a testament to the battle they had fought together. Inside, the familiar scent of their home enveloped them, casting away the remnants of the darkness that had clawed at their heels. Sarah led Max to the living room, where the light flickered softly, illuminating their safe haven. "Want to play a video game?" she suggested, forcing the smile back onto her face. Their lives could still be filled with joy, laughter, not the dread they had escaped. Max's eyes brightened. "Yeah. The superhero one," he exclaimed, racing to grab his console. As they settled in, laughter and chatter filled the room, twinkling with healing laughter. Moments passed filled with warmth as they embraced the normalcy of life again. Sarah glanced around the room, her heart still heavy with memories of a night that felt like a nightmare, a shadow play that tried to steal her son away. But they had prevailed. And through that victory, a newfound strength bubbled within her, a determination to never let the darkness come creeping back. A promise forged in the fire of fear, their bond stronger than any shadow. Now, with Max happily engrossed in his game, Sarah stood by, listening to the joyful sounds of her son. The nightmare was vanquished, the shadows defeated for now. But even as realization set in a weighty suspicion that darkness could lie in wait, it would not greet them again. They would face the night united, remembering the power they held, for love was the strongest shield against even the darkest abyss. As the stars shined brightly above, Sarah whispered a soft prayer of gratitude, connected deeply to the bond they had forged through fear and triumph. They would always be together. Now, her heart was light. And she would never let the dark play with her light again. That if you're still with us, this is your time to shine. Don't wait. If you loved this chilling story and want more thrilling conclusions, subscribe immediately to our channel. Smash that like button now. Seriously, it fuels the algorithm and keeps us going. We want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, or what you'd like to see next. And don't forget to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this spine-tingling conclusion. You need to show your support. This is your moment. Let us break the silence together.